Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada. One person dead after industrial accident at Rexdale metal fabrication facility. Markham Mosque officials call on Ford government to combat Islamophobia after shocking hate-motivated attack. Police investigating severe crash in Oshawa. Driver on Highway 401 caught going 235 km per hour drunk. Tailgate parties are back for Leafs and Raptors playoff games. Here is what you need to know. TTC sees fewer safety incidents after beefing up security. SIU investigating after woman falls from QEW overpass in St. Catharines. These were the headlines and let's jump right into the details. A major roadway in Oshawa has been closed Monday afternoon while police investigate a severe car crash. The incident occurred on Simcoe Street between Howden and Raglan roads. Investigators haven't said much about the incident, but video from the scene shows two cars with significant damage. The front half of the car appears to be smashed, with the roof completely removed from the body of the vehicle. Another vehicle has serious front-end damage. It is unclear how many people are injured. Police say roads in the area are closed while an investigation takes place. They are urging drivers to avoid the area. The number of safety incidents involving TTC passengers fell by nearly 20% following increased security on the network. The new report by the Toronto Transit Commission, set to go before the board later this week, showed there were 111 safety and security incidents in February compared to the 136 reported in January. The 18% increase in offences against customers came the same month 80 Toronto police officers were deployed to the TTC following a number of violent incidents. While the specific type of offence is not listed in the report, the TTC said the number of incidents involving customers in February was 2.15 per 1 million boardings, down from 2.72 in January. A drop in the number of safety incidents against TTC employees was also reported, with 99 offences in February versus 103 in January. The 80 Toronto police officers deployed to the TTC in February following a string in a high-profile violent incidents on the network came to an end last month due to a lack of municipal funding. The boosted police presence was covered by officers working overtime shifts at a total cost of roughly $1.5 million per month, something the city said it could not afford indefinitely without more funding. 50 security guards and 20 community safety ambassadors are still deployed temporarily. Despite the departure of those 80 officers, safety on the transit is still top of mind for many riders following what police called an unprovoked stabbing at Keele Station last month. Ontario's police watchdog is investigating after a 54-year-old woman was seriously injured in a fall from a highway overpass in St. Catharines. The incident happened on Sunday afternoon on the Queen Elizabeth Way at Niagara Street. According to the province's Special Investigations Unit, Niagara Regional Police were called to the scene shortly after 3:30 p.m. for reports of a woman in distress. They said police officers and paramedics at the scene had a brief interaction with the woman before she fell from the bridge. The woman fell to the ground below and was taken to the hospital where she was diagnosed with serious injuries, the Arms Length Civilian Agency said in a news release. The SIU investigates incidents involving police where there has been death, a serious injury, allegations of sexual assault, and/or where a firearm has been discharged at a person. Playoff basketball and hockey are back in Toronto, and so are the popular tailgating parties outside the Scotiabank Arena. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment has announced that tailgate parties will once again be held in Maple Leaf Square for both home and away games during the Raptors and Leafs playoff runs this spring. Fans will be required to register for a free mobile pass to be granted access to the tailgate area. MLSE says that the passes will become available the day before each game, with each fan having access to a maximum of 4 passes per game. The mobile passes will only be available on the Toronto Maple Leafs and Toronto Raptors mobile apps and can't be downloaded from the Scotiabank Arena website, as was the case last year. The first tailgate party is scheduled for Wednesday night when the Raptors host the Chicago Bulls in the opening game of the NBA play-in tournament. The first Maple Leafs tailgate will then be held sometime next week, though the NHL has not yet released its playoff schedule. A driver who was allegedly impaired and caught driving 135 km per hour over the speed limit on a Toronto highway has been charged. Ontario Provincial Police said it happened in North York on Highway 401 near Leslie Street. In a tweet published Sunday night, police said the driver of the vehicle, which appears to be an Audi RS5, was clocked at a speed of 235 km per hour. The speed limit on most Highway 401 is 100 km per hour. The driver, who was not identified, was also allegedly impaired while operating the vehicle at the high speed, police said. Police said the driver was charged with stunt driving, dangerous driving, and impaired driving after they allegedly blew over 80 following a breathalyzer test. As a result, the driver's license was suspended for 90 days and the vehicle was impounded for 2 weeks. No other information was released by police. Mosque officials are calling on the Doug Ford government to expedite legislation aimed at combating Islamophobia after a shocking hate-motivated incident in Markham over the weekend. Our communities have reason to be afraid. Make no mistake, we could have been at funeral today, Islamic Foundation of Markham President Hasir Nasir Khan said at a news conference on Monday afternoon, calling the incident shocking for the community. York Regional Police allege a 28-year-old man shouted Islamophobic slurs and drove his vehicle directly at a worshipper at the Islamic Society of Markham on Thursday during the holy month of Ramadan. In the wake of the alleged hate-motivated attack in London, Ontario that killed 4 members of a Muslim family almost 2 years ago, the Our London Family Act was introduced by the Ontario New Democrats. The bill has been sitting in committee since March 3, 2022. In addition to moving forward with legislative action at the Queen's Park, Hassan called on the federal government to expand the coverage of security expenses at places of worship. YRP Inspector Chuck Byham reassured the community that the police force has no reason to believe that the accused was part of a larger extremist or terrorist organization. Toronto resident Sharon Karunakaran, 28, was located and arrested shortly after midnight on Friday. He was charged with 1 count of uttering threats, 1 count of assault with a weapon, and 1 count of dangerous driving. The charges have not been proven in court.
Good afternoon again. My name is Nadia Hassan and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the National Council of Canadian Muslims. What happened here last week was extremely distressing, especially during the holy month of Ramadan, where many Muslims, families, and elders gather for collective acts of worship. This is a time for community, for spiritual revival, and for finding peace. The Islamophobic slurs and actions by the suspect, who is now in custody, attempted to destroy that peace. But the resilience of this masjid community remains steadfast. We are grateful for the quick and timely actions of masjid volunteers who wish to remain anonymous, but their actions prevented the suspect from causing further harm. The reality is that this incident is part of a broader problem of increasing hate crimes in Canada and an intensification of Islamophobic rhetoric. Just a week before this incident, we saw Islamophobic vandalism at another masjid in the GTA. And just a couple of weeks before that, we saw a Muslim woman wearing a hijab threatened with a knife on public transit. This is not to mention some of the most egregious acts of violence, such as the attack in London. Hate crimes against Canadian Muslims rose by 71% in 2021, the same year we saw the heartless attack on the Muslim family in London. This cannot go on. We must address this phenomenon directly and comprehensively. That is why the National Council of Canadian Muslims is supporting the Islamic Society of Markham's calls to action, which include three things. Firstly, we call on the Ontario government to expedite the passing of the Our London Family Act in Ontario. This is a model piece of legislation that seeks to address Islamophobia through multiple areas of policy and law. Secondly, we call on the federal government to enact reforms to Security Infrastructure Program, which provides funding for places of worship to implement security measures. These reforms should include an expansion of eligible expenses to include third-party security guards. Lastly, we know that bigger fences do not make for better neighbors. So we ask that the federal government provide better funding for engaging the broader community so that our communities can better dispel harmful stereotypes and myths about Muslims. While we know that there is much more that needs to be done to root out Islamophobia, these actions are necessary and urgent steps that will help alleviate immediate threats to our communities. The time for action against Islamophobia is now.
I'd like to make a couple of statements. One, we do not believe this incident or individual is part of a larger group. We do not believe that this individual is associated to an extremist group. We do not believe that this incident is terror-related. And I want again to reassure the community that there is no threat to community safety as a result of this incident. These types of incidents are of great concern not only to our faith communities, but to our broader communities here in Markham and throughout York Region. We are doing everything we can to ensure that our faith communities remain safe during these high holidays. As a police organization, we are committed to thoroughly investigating any incident of threat to a member of our community, and we will lay charges accordingly. We'd like to thank our local politicians and others who have joined us here this morning for their support, to show support for the Islamic community here in Markham, and let them know that that is greatly appreciated, and we stand with them during this time. We're also grateful for the partnership that we have enjoyed for many years with this organization, and will continue to do so. We are all working together to ensure that York Region remains a place where people feel safe and welcome. I'd like to invite Inspector Byam to provide some more details about the investigation itself.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.